I have 12:57.
Me too.
We gotta wait till 1 for Stephanie to be ready to rock and roll.
I know. There's the springs.
Oh,
Those two seats right there, you kind of feel like you're gonna keep on going. I mean, they're worn out.
Mm.
I'm sure the
okay, yep.
Yeah, 1 o'clock budget hearing for the IT department.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Pat Oblander with the Information Technology Department. It's my pleasure to present the 2020 Information Technology Budget Request. First slide I always like to lead off with is the Information Technology Mission Statement, which is to continuously work with all Shawnee County departments to support current technology needs, create plans for the future, and implement appropriate solutions that meet or exceed expectations in the most cost-effective manner possible. So a bit long for a mission statement, but it does really concisely contain all of the elements that we really try to focus on as we deliver services for Shawnee County. To highlight some of the recent projects that we've done that demonstrate our commitment to that mission statement, one of the latest things that we've done is a migration to voice over IP and to contract with new telecom and service providers for telecom services. We started this project in earnest in about 2015, and over that period of time, we've moved services for telecommunication circuits from one vendor to another, which achieved some savings. And we also were able to retire quite a few circuits as a result of going over to voice over IP. This is where we have our telecommunications services running over our data network rather than through dedicated telecommunications copper circuits. We ran a cost comparison between what we were spending in 2015 versus what we're spending in 2018 and came up with approximately $100,000 per year in savings. So that's a pretty significant number, and that is due to the changes that we've implemented in the way we provide telecom services. As part of that conversion, we also converted from an on-premises hardware PBX, or private branch exchange platform for our phone service, to an open source software PBX. What we're doing now is, rather than having excuse me, a piece of hardware that all of our phones connect to, we have programs that are running on our servers, just like any other server would in a data center. But our phones that are now on the network connect to that software program rather than a hardware platform. That software program is free of charge. It's actually an open source program that you can download and install yourself. And if you have the wherewithal to configure it properly, you can roll your own telecommunications system. We have done so, and consequently, we've achieved what is approximately a $700,000 capital outlay savings. Our old hardware platform was an Avaya PBX that we used for 15 to 20 years. We did some upgrades to it over the years, but it was getting really long in the tooth and needed to be replaced. Since we do not have to replace that, there is no capital outlay item in my 5-year plan for a new PBX. So if we had had to put one in, it would have been about $700,000. In addition to that, there are no ongoing annual maintenance costs or licensing costs. So if you have a $700,000 system, about 10% of that will go into annual licensing and maintenance costs. So we don't have those costs either. So this demonstrates our commitment to providing good quality IT services, but with a real focus on doing things at the least cost possible. So we're really proud of those two accomplishments. Another recent project that we've completed or are on the cusp of completing is a redesign of the Shawnee County Appraiser's website. This is a sneak preview of what the website or the web pages will look like. And this is a project that demonstrates a lot of collaboration between the IT department and departments within Shawnee County. We've had a lot of back and forth between our developers and the appraiser's office and customers of the appraiser's office in developing this product. And we feel like it's really focused on how people in the public want to get in and use the appraiser's web pages. I don't know if you've been into a lawyer's office or a real estate office or a mortgage company office, but if you go to their offices and talk to them, the first thing they do is turn to their computer and bring up the Shawnee County Appraiser's webpage. All of these people have had a hand in setting this page up so that it meets their needs right off the bat quickly and effectively. So that's something that we're really proud of. We do have some challenges that we face for the IT department, one of which is evolving position descriptions. Everybody's aware that technology churn is extremely fast in our industry. And for us to keep up with that, we have to keep reassigning new responsibility or reassigning and creating new responsibilities for people within our department. Over time, the project or the position descriptions that we have them working under no longer apply. So over time, we're going to have to evolve our position descriptions and the classifications within which we have our employees to accurately reflect what they're doing. Another challenge, we really want to put a lot of emphasis on converting from reactive to proactive service and support models. Traditionally, over the past decades, IT reacts to work coming in the door. We wait for something to come in as a request or a problem to occur, and then we react to it and fix it or provide the service. We would like to move the needle more towards the proactive service and support model where we anticipate the needs and get out in front of some of the demands. This helps us work with our departments to more carefully focus their expectations and help them out during their plan-making process and be a part of that decision-making rather than just react to things that come in the door after somebody has already thought them through. This ties into our evolving position descriptions as well. We're going to focus more on having people that are business analysts as opposed to just developers. These are people that are going to be working with our customers to extract information ahead of the demand. Part of what we're doing too is going through our department and analyzing what is it we do on a day-to-day basis. We're using principles of Lean Six Sigma. We had our programming manager go through a week-long course on the methodologies implemented in that. We'll use those to define, categorize, and prioritize our workflow processes. And we'll use that information to help us figure out where are we being effective, where are we not being effective, where do we need to reposition our resources to get the most value for the county. So all of those things we're going to be doing over the course of the next year and forever onwards. We also have to balance the use of on-premises versus off-premises technology resources. You've heard me explain over time that we are moving many technology resources to the Azure cloud. That's off-premises. Some of the things that drive our decisions are the costs involved in these differing platforms. Those costs change with time, and we have to be able to adapt to those changes and make informed decisions. So it's a complicated dance, trying to figure out what we want to keep on premises and what we want to move to the cloud, driven by security concerns, access concerns, and cost concerns. We're always sensitive to all of those issues. So just a few of the things that we have to look out for. This is a list of the core information technology services that we provide for the county. We have three major divisions in IT. The first ones are network, virtualization platforms, servers, desktops, data access. That's our network support group or operations group. We handle all of the demands for the county for networking, cabling, PCs, upgrades, you name it, everything to do with hardware, we do it. Telecommunications, we do the same thing there. We do all phones for all of the county. We also do the telecommunications support for the courts in the building as well. And then we have the application support and application development division, which is where we build software for situations where it makes sense for the county to do so. And we do our application support where we purchase large applications such as our IFAS system, our tax administration system. We can't necessarily build those, so we have to have support staff that take care of those. Website development, direct user support, and then liaison with departments within Shawnee County and organizations outside of the county. Capital Journal, Stormont Vale, Topeka Public Library, a lot of different organizations that we interface with as we take care of Shawnee County technology needs. In support of all that, we are requesting a budget of $3,532,102. Using the information that Betty has provided as far as what a flat budget would be for 2020 for Shawnee County IT, that would come out at $3,504,650, a difference of $27,452 approximately. So we're over a little bit, but I will go through the next three slides that show our major source accounts and show you where those numbers come from. Our first one is our payroll, MSA 1. This has a difference of $85,642. The bulk of that is the step increases that were implemented recently. We also have a line in there for employee retirement transfer. We do have a couple of employees coming up that have a large amount of vacation time and sick leave that would have to be paid out in the event that they retire. So we do have a line in there for the retirement transfers. MSA 2, I've highlighted the items that have increased in amount with yellow and some that have decreased, or one that decreased in green. The first one, professional services, is a $5,000 increase. We do have some firewalls, a couple of firewalls in the courthouse that we want to consolidate down to one firewall, and we're probably going to have to engage vendor services to get that accomplished. So that's why that's up just about 50%, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but it's a big jump for the firewall or for the professional services. Repairs and servicing, we came down a little bit because there is no longer a need to purchase spare parts for the old Avaya PBX. That's where that difference comes from. Contractual services, $722,853, increasing to $746,618. There are a lot of moving parts in this line item right here. We have a lot of contracts, 40 or 45 different contracts, some of which come off the books every once in a while when we're finished using that service, and we add new ones relatively frequently. But in the general mix, it's pretty well balanced out as far as the amount that we need to pay for 2020 versus 2019. We do have a difference of $29,205. About $24,000 of that is attributable to increases that we expect in the Azure cloud storage arena. So we do have some money built in to accommodate that anticipated need. And that is about it for that line item. And then memberships, dues, and subscriptions, we had a little increase there that we had a couple of other things that we wanted to add for those. Major outcome, $29,205 difference or increase. MSA 3, about the only things we can say about this is in the miscellaneous and the computer software lines, we did have reductions. Miscellaneous, again, we had some reductions in costs due to retirement of the old hardware PBX. And then in the more significant line item, the computer software, we're down over $10,000. We came down significantly on that. We did find that we had more money budgeted for computer software. This is the software that our developers use in support of creating software programs. We're not typically spending $17,400. We've gone to a 2-year cycle where we replace that, so we recognize we weren't spending that, so we came down to $3,400 on that. So that's where that $19,870 comes from. Any questions about the major source accounts, MSA 1, 2, or 3?
See none?
Very well. Capital improvement. We do have 7 items that we turned in for capital improvement plan. What I'd like to do is go through each of the 7. In the order in which I'm going through these is the order in which they're likely to come before you for approval in a budget year. So we're starting with the things that hit in 2020. Critical things that come at the last, but they're further out in time. So that's how I've organized the sequence. First off, Nutanix platform expansion. The Nutanix platform is the virtualization platform that we've chosen to eventually replace the vBlock platforms that we are running all of our critical servers on. That platform is panning out quite well. We want to continue to grow that. And we anticipate that it will take about $150,000 per year of new components that we plug onto that to expand its storage and compute capacity. We're pretty confident that we've got the number figured out for 2020. We would expect to need about $150,000 in capital outlay. As time goes on, we've plugged in $150,000 per year. But again, remember, pricing changes over time with on-premises storage and compute versus cloud storage. The picture may change, but we want to have something in there to hold place. So we anticipate each year for the foreseeable future adding to that. Now do keep in mind, as we're adding components to the Nutanix platform, older components that were purchased in previous years are going to be coming up for retirement. We can clip those out and plug in the new ones, replacing the entire system. And that's one of the primary advantages we sought when we chose the Nutanix platform. Any questions on that platform?
What happens if we don't do it?
What happens if we don't do the expansions?
If we don't purchase the additional equipment.
If we don't purchase the additional expansions, what you'll hear are complaints from departments about IT is not meeting our storage requirements. It'll be things like maybe from the DA's office. We've got tons of discovery that we can't get stored. It'll come from the sheriff's office. They've got video information that they want to store on premises and work with. That's how it'll play out in front of you and in front of us.
So this isn't really optional, is what you're saying?
I don't believe so. We'll have
Okay.
to spend it on premises, or it'll have to be spent on cloud storage resources.
Okay,
So
thank you.
those are critical resources.
Thank you.
Network switch replacements. These are the components that each of your computers and now your telephones connect to for connectivity to the core data network. We have been really successful over time in using refurbished switches. We spend a lot less on those and distribute those throughout the county in areas that aren't hypercritical and extract a lot of value out of those. But they do wear out eventually, so we have to replace them. So every year or so, we anticipate needing about $50,000 in capital outlay to go through and replace the switches that have aged out and have come up for replacement. So about 2020, 2022, 2024, about $50,000 each time. Those are pretty hard and fast. I don't anticipate that changing. We will always need those switches for this period of time. Any questions on that one? Fiber fusion splicer purchase. This is a request for a piece of equipment that we would use while preparing fibers, optical fibers, for use within county buildings and between county building locations. We have to put ends on those fibers, or terminations. Once the fiber is cut, we have to put an end on it so that it can plug into the ports that we use to transmit laser light through those. Traditionally, we've used connections that are basically just mechanically stuck together, and we hope for the best. That has worked well as long as our data rates, the bandwidth requirements have been relatively low. We're moving towards 10 gigabit network switches that have a much higher speed of operation. As you increase the amount of data going through there, the optical clarity of those connections becomes more important. And we're finding that some of our switches will not work with our existing fiber connections. This piece of equipment actually melts the fiber to the fiber termination, creating a much more optically clear connection that is suitable for the higher speed bandwidth connections. So that is a piece of equipment that we would ask for in 2020. Any questions on that one? Fleet replacements, we do have a number of vehicles that our operations staff uses to travel around the county among the many buildings and locations that we have. Most of those vehicles are reaching 8 to 10 years, or in some cases, coming up on 20 years of age. And we do want to set up a replacement strategy for those. So we're putting in $22,000 for each of the next 5 years. This is a project that would come up in 2021. We have become aware of a 12th Street improvement project that the city of Topeka is doing, where much of 12th Street will be replaced between between several blocks worth of 12th Street. We would like to work with the city of Topeka to see to it that a conduit is installed along that run. The fundamental reason for that is that's the time to do it, so that you can get it into the ground during the time when it's least costly to do so. This would also prepare us for eventual connectivity using county-owned fiber connections to several locations along that corridor. That would be the health department at 10th and Jewel, the health department building on McVicker, and all of the buildings that we currently service and support out in the Gage Park region. We would like to get that placed in so that we could have our own fiber connections to those locations instead of relying on a patchwork of fiber connections that are provided by USD 501, City of Topeka, etc. Those fibers work, they do function, but we are using some of their spare fibers that they may have to call back into service at some point. A variety of people involved in supporting those, so it's more difficult to support, and we can't expand them. So that is something we'll be working towards to see if we can get something in the ground during that project.
And that's a 2021. It's shown on the handout for Monday's meeting that that's 2020 project, or, yeah, 2020 project, but it's 2021.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll need to get that corrected. Thank you for pointing
Okay.
that out.
Thank you.
And we also have firewall replacements. This is something that we've scheduled for 2022 and 2024 in anticipation of needing those firewall appliances to be replaced. We've already replaced some of them here in the county, but we have others that are coming up for renewal eventually. These dates are somewhat fluid because the firewall replacements depend on factors that have not yet resolved. We may be able to eke out a couple of more years on a couple of these if the demands on them do not outstrip their ability to support them. So that's kind of the placeholders that we've put in for firewall replacements. Those are indeed critical. We will have to do them. It's just the timing is just a little bit vague. And finally, capital improvements for 2 air conditioning units that are in place in the courthouse in our server room. Both of those units are 20 years plus of age. They are still apparently serviceable. We keep checking with the SAMCO, the service provider, and saying, when do you think they're going to fail? They're saying, well, it looks like they're good for another year or 2. We're going to continue in that vein as long as we feel comfortable that we can get replacement parts for them and the refrigerant that they run on. We'll keep pushing them. But I do want to put something in the far future that says, at some point we're going to have to replace those units. So again, these things will have to be replaced, but the timing is a little bit fluid. That concludes the presentation. If any
Questions for Pat?
questions are there?
I don't have any.
I think what you said is your capital outlay requests are $240,000 total for 2020. and they're pretty much mandatory. Mark, do you have anything to say?
Mark Price, Shawnee County IT. I would agree with Pat that they are mandatory, as our demands on storage, and, I mean, some of it does come down to outside players that we're trying to keep everyone safe, everything working. What we've got is needed. I don't feel there's really any fluff. If things were different, you'd actually probably see a lot bigger number there, but this is where I think is a comfortable number where we'd be able to support the county and keep everyone happy.
Okay. Betty, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
I don't have anything. I think your budget request is reasonable. Capital, it has to be done. I mean, without your service, we're out of business, and I think we all realize that. So, if there's nothing else, thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Commissioners.
Good presentation.
You too.
Oh, I got it. HR.
So,
HR and